What?
You don't have some flats.
This road's nothing.
Huh?
This road's nothing. It's a good road.
It is when you're in a car, not a four-wheel drive. I kind of don't think you're going to find anything.
Arriving at Levy Road, on the right.
You say the whole tour is in the cellar?
The basic one where they don't charge you, but if you want to take the grand tour, it's going to cost. And they only do it Fridays and Saturdays for the whole mansion.
$20.
Yeah. Well, it's normally $15, but it's October, so they're charging a lot more because of the whole Halloween thing.
It's supposed to be haunted?
Yeah, there's about 3 ghost stories here. I'm going to videotape about some of the ghosts.
Of course.
Oh, photobomb?
Yes, of course.
It always happens. This house was built in 1869 by Henry Guess McPike. The McPike family is from Scotland, and his ancestry includes many patriots who fought in the Revolutionary War. And I guess a Captain Moses Guess McPike from New Jersey and Captain James McPike, who were in the Valley Forge with George Washington. So there's some history in relation to the house. It's still vacant, but they give tours here. I mean, nobody lives here. It's kind of more or less serves as a museum now to the public, and renovations are always underway. But it's very beautiful. So if I don't get to give you an inside tour, you guys know why. I'm just not going to take a tour. Oh, look, there's a putty cat. Hey. Hi. Oh, you're scaring my cat away. I called it and you distracted it. And now it's coming to you instead of me. Shame, shame. That's as low as it gets, taking my pussy away. You took my pussy. This cat likes Steven to stay. Hey. She's pregnant, you know. She's pregnant. Yep, I can tell. Yep. Is this a stray cat? Hey. Hey. Oh, hi. The fur seems to be maintained. You can go anywhere on the property, son. His political career did not start. See, there's an open window right above. They're still restoring this place. John McPike didn't have a quick political career. He became a politician eventually, but his father had been an editor of the Whig newspaper and later became the Republicans from the Whig Party at the time of Abraham Lincoln. But he was an early advocate of the abolition of slavery. However, McPike never sought office, even if it was offered to him locally. During the Civil War, he was a deputy provost marshal and of the district and placed him under a management position in the War Department. After this, he was an acting representative of many conventions with the city council. And so yes, he did serve as a politician. He was the mayor in Alton 1887, though about 1891. The McPike family lived in the estate for some time after the death of Henry McPike. So both brothers had stayed at this mansion during a given time period. It was not, I mean, their stay here did not last as many years as you would have thought. I would have thought the mansion would have been passed down from one generation to the next. I would imagine since 1936, since the house had been abandoned supposedly, is when the last residents moved out and then it was left to the elements. I would have assumed that, because records do indicate in the 1930s that it had been abandoned. But other people say that it was owned by a Paul A. Latchinger, who purchased the house in 1908 and lived there to 1930. So obviously it didn't stay in the McPike family forever, but both brothers, Henry and James, did live in this house. Of course, when Henry died, you know, the other brother obviously had utilized the house. And so it's possible the McPike family could be haunting this home. But since the 1950s, the mansion's always looked this way. And the house was purchased in 1994 by a Sharon and George Lutke. And they had bought the house at an auction, and they're working on trying to restore it and give tours. And it's just a wonderful sight. You can understand that I'm here to do a story on the McPike Mansion. And in turn, it's going to help them get more funding for people to visit their tours and be aware about this place. And hopefully we could see this mansion someday restored. It sits on a bluff. We're near the Mississippi River. The woods are quite creepy. You could probably walk back here at night and get pretty creeped out if you wanted to. Sharon and her husband that had purchased the property up in Alton here, or purchased the mansion back in 1994, claim it's haunted. Sharon claims that the ghost of Paul Latchinger haunts this place, and he had purchased this mansion back in the early 1900s, lived here for 30 years, and probably lived out his days in Alton or this possible house. But she also claims there's other spirits as well. She said she had a first encounter with Latchinger's ghost about 6 weeks after she bought the house. She said she was watering some plants, saw a man standing in the window looking out at her, and then he vanished, was wearing a striped shirt. And I believe it. It's important to look up at the windows at this place. And of course there's another ghost story associated with the house as well. Supposedly a servant girl haunts the house. People call her Sarah, and supposedly when a man came to the house one day and presented Lukey's with some books they removed from the house 17 years before, one of the books had a Sarah Wells written inside of it. Since that time, Sharon has called the ghost Sarah. I guess they smell lilacs. Some people claim they see an apparition of a girl. The Lukey's claim that this ghost also is capable of giving hugs. Leaves are falling. We're in the middle of fall. The house was built in 1869 by a Lucas Pfeifenberger, and he was the original owner of the mansion was Henry Guest McPike. Like I said, Henry died. The other brother, I believe, had lived here with his family. But they owned 15 acres of land known as Mount Lookout Park. And of course, McPike, a horticulturist, also had grew what was known as the McPike Grape. And the family, they said, lived here until 1936, which is not true, because there's no facts to back that up, and other records show that the house was sold in around early 1900s, and another man purchased the property and lived here all the way up until around 1936, so about 36 years. So the McPike's family presence was in this home in the 1800s, and then it was sold and eventually became abandoned. And in 1950, the house just sat in peril. But since Henry McPike had owned the house, like I said, it had changed hands. It had changed hands many times. This house also had been home to the Browns Business College in the later 1800s. And then, of course, they just sold it to... And then, of course, they had sold it to a Paul Latchinger, whose ghost currently haunts the home. Give you some stats on this place. There are 11 marble fireplaces, carved stairway banisters, a lot of intricate trim, old wallpaper. The first front new rooms, which I don't know, I mean, you can't really even see, and it's all boarded up, or I would put my camera up to the window. The house was built in 1869, and that year McPike's Ruhlander was considered one of the finest quality at an expedition in Mississippi Valley Grape Growers Association. And McPike served as the mayor and lived in this house. So this is the mayor's house. Well, he also served as a librarian of Alton, Southern Illinois Horticultural Society in the 1880s and died in 1910. However, in 1925, now see, I got another date. It was first 1906 that he purchased it. I have 1900, 1906, and 1936. But supposedly the other note says Paul Atchinger lived here until his death in 1945 and purchased a house in 1925. So we have to assume in 1910, after the death of Henry, remember his first brother had died and then Henry moved in. Then Henry had died, passed on to the college, the business college, and then in 1925, supposedly Latchinger bought it, lived out his days till 1945. So that's the other story. But some people say no, the house was sold in the 1800s and early 1900s. Latchinger lived here and in 1936 abandoned it. Whatever story you may believe, this is a fine mansion, supposedly haunted and ransacked, vandalized for all its furniture, banisters, and worth. And the structure's on the National Register of Historic Places. Very famous, one of the most famous prestige mansions in all of Illinois, maybe perhaps the Midwest. Just want to say to everybody, to all my friends, I'm here in Illinois. It's October 2016. Peace. Did a nice video for you guys on history, gave you a little walking tour. We're going to put this on our site with a few ghost stories, so make sure you check us out, www.paranormalghostsociety.org.
Washed all the dirt out from underneath that
The steps,
there
and it fell, yeah. But see, that's stuff that they could fix real easy. Like the concrete, you can put a wood frame, re-pour it, you remove that, and just do new steps.
Actually, you can save the original stuff if you can raise it up. That's the best.
Yeah.
They can inject stuff underneath it now and push it up.
Give it a lift.
Pretty much, yeah, that's what they do. Actually, the whole porch looks like it's sinking. They might have designed it that way to drain. But it's all leaning this way, isn't it? Or am I imagining that?
It looks like it might be. This is a river bluff, so the ground's probably not that hard anyhow here.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you have your roof mask?
It's in the truck in the front.
I'm not doing that.
Dude, don't let anyone see it. Like, tuck it under your shirt. So work is ongoing on the site. There's a lot of little flowers which we'll take photos of to put on the website as well. I'm highly into nature and paranormal places, so I kind of mix the two. That's just my methodology. I like to give you everything. If you're going to check out this place on our site, you might as well see what the fauna and the foliage and trees and whatever remnants remain to the fullest extent. Alright, so folks, we're going to go ahead and walk towards the back again. It's creepy back here. The heat, whoa, that's broke. The EMF was going off, then we looked up and there was power lines. It's like, man. There's a basement entrance. How about in this corner right in here? That's creepy. But you can see work is ongoing. Okay. Yeah, the house is in peril. There's nobody home. I talked to the owners. They were very kind enough to tell us to come back to get more information later today. And I'm going to do just that, so that way I can touch base with them. Oh yeah, the scary ghost mask. And 100 years ago, they used to wear, the kids would wear those on Halloween, just put a sack over the head. This is like an old creek bed, probably pours into the Mississippi River,
Probably.
or drains out at it. It keeps heading downhill. Where's the well? This was the well?
I think so. I don't know.
You know what? It looks like it runs down. It may not. Huh. There's bricks, yeah.
I'm thinking so.
It looks like they had a well for water. I mean, the house was built in the 1800s. Cool. And there's a little trail. The backyard's overgrown, which makes the property, I'd say, a little spooky to an extent, folks. If you want to walk here at night and just take a little walk, obviously you should check with the owners first before anything else, so you don't get yourself in any sort of trouble. See oh, look at this.
Yeah.
See, it goes off because they have the bug zapper, so you cannot get good EMF activity back here.
I think it is.
For what? There's a wood board here. Look.
No, I bet it was a grave. Or no, it can't be.
Either a stone bench or
Yeah, I'm thinking it's stone.
it's too narrow to be a grave. Look, it's
But
only
look, it lifts
you couldn't
up.
fit unless you.
Yeah, and look, they stone down. Alright, I think it was a bench. I don't know.
It's a bench because look at the outside.
Yeah.
How it's beveled downward. It's just cracked, or they might just be leaving it so people can. They may have been built here in the 1800s. It's part of history. They don't want to mess with it. You see, you have stones down there.
Yeah.
Someone may have thought it was a grave and cracked
broke
it to
it.
rob it and found out it's just a bench.
Yeah.
Because if there was a coffin in it,
People are stupid.
if the coffin was in it, you'd still have remnants of it down here.
Bones
Look,
and stuff.
nothing's been really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they just slipped the rock underneath.
Yeah.
They probably lifted it
True.
on the edges, but there's a few ghost stories. Ghost of a little girl, some of the original owners and their families, probably the McPike family haunts the mansion. I took a few EVPs. I don't know if I'll get anything. If I get something, I'll submit it to the museum. They can use it to grow they could use it to catch the. Hey Jared, did you see this over here? Oh. Little path in the woods. They could use their EVPs and pictures to kind of help gain some funding to get this place restored. A little path that goes down into the woods, and it might even be ghost out on the property. Wow. I can't believe that I'm standing in the middle of Alton, Illinois, one of the most haunted places in the Midwest. There is so many beautiful historic mansions, just like the McPike Mansion, which we're standing before right now. So with that in mind, we're going to be heading out of here. We're going to go down to the old historic cemetery. They have a hill with some ghost stories associated with some of the people buried up there. And so I'll give you guys a little tour on Alton once we get there. That's one of the main haunted places to explore. McPike Mansion. And then the cemetery, which has numerous names. And then the Alton Cemetery, which we're going to in a bit. Now there's a few cemeteries. So when we get to the cemetery, I'll tell you what it's called. That way you guys can kind of find it for yourselves if you decide to come to Alton or come up here looking for some ghosts and the paranormal. Well, work here is ongoing, as you can see. And this is the path that leads down to the basement. Pretty cool, right? You can see up into the house a little. You kind of expect something to jump out and go boo when you look in those windows. But nothing, it's quiet here. Okay. This is the basement area. See there, brick walkway. Most of it's covered in mud. See, for me it's a dream come true to visit a place like this and explore it. You can't use an EMF. There's power lines back here. Here's a door from inside the man. Fence line. And then we come over here and watch Jared try to scare me. Try to.
And you tried to scare me. I seen you.
You seen me? The basement's over there. They do let you in the cellar, so when we come back, I'll try to get us in the cellar. Okay, I'll ask them, and I'll put them on the website. So, all right, so I'm almost done, and we'll come back in a little bit.
That's nice.
It is. It's one of the finest mansions in Illinois. So we're gonna head out of here, folks. This is the McPike Mansion. We got other locations to do. I'm going to go up to the Alton Cemetery so you guys can get a look at one of the older historic burial grounds, which some people say it dates back to the 1700s. Other people say it's some people say it's the third oldest cemetery in Illinois. So I want to take you up there. There's a famous slave abolitionist. There's a famous slave abolitionist, and he made history here in the Alton area. We're going to talk about this very intriguing historical figure in African American society. And it's not just on a road. There's a lot of historical or older homes around here, but you can see the trees are just gorgeous. So one thing I like about Illinois, most of the state's forested. You have cities and towns built within the forest everywhere in Illinois. Last night I drove over 30 miles through farmland, forest, creeks, and along lakes and over rivers, and this area is very lush compared to where I'm at. I mean, it is lush in the Sierras, but I'm on the edge of the high desert as well. One side's brown because of drought, the other side's hurting because we're not getting enough water until spring when all the snow melts. And so this is the property. Looks like there may have been a tree house at one time. No, it's just some broken. Probably had a little fountain at one time in the middle. This is the wrought iron entrance onto the property. We're near downtown Alton. This is the historic district, so there's a lot of historic homes and mansions that are just as nice, if not bigger than these. But the trees are amazing. It's lush out here because they get good precipitation. That's why the Mississippi, well, let's not forget the Mississippi is near this area and it floods. So it's very green, very humid. The humidity is what's getting me today. We weren't able to go to the Hartford Castle. We are not able to go to Hartford or Lakeview Castle, unfortunately. There's two different homes that are bordering the property. I don't want to trespass onto someone's property that's living there, obviously. That's a good enough reason. The other reason is there's so much poison ivy on the trail, and it's just so overgrown like a jungle. Who knows what's back in that half-mile patch of land that's back there. So we decided to just scrap it and come to the McPike Mansion, and I'm glad I did. And we're going to come back and I'm going to talk to the owners a little more. This is Lord Rick. This almost looks like a gravestone. It might be. Used to bury their loved ones on mansion properties in the 1800s like this, just because they had gardens. It was pleasant, and a lot of people thought when they built their mansions that they would live there their entire lives and be buried on sites such as this. Could just be a monument or a garden walkway. Sometimes they have, when you make a garden walkway, you can buy the stone slabs to put in. That could be a broken stone slab to a walkway. It's hard to say, but I've been to a few mansions where they had little cemeteries in the back. Example, Bowers Mansion in Washoe Valley, Nevada. And then of course you have this little stone monument here. It's inscripted. Could be, yeah, it could be a gravestone. It's engraved. There's a name. It says Father. So I'm leaving the McPike Mansion with an open mind. I didn't see no ghost in the windows, but I did enjoy the historical value of the home and the grounds Lots of flowers, large trees, wildlife, nature, such as you hear crickets, there's birds. It's very pleasant. This is a little flower garden, the playhouse, all part of the mansion's property. It's beautiful here. It's very beautiful. We're heading out to go to the Alton Cemetery next. We're going to go see the Piasaw bird site, and then we'll come back here maybe for a little more historical information from the owners.